I'm Jon Flewellen, and today we're going to talk about how to stop a squealing timing belt. Now, some of the things that would cause a squealing timing belt is a misalignment of the pulley, a loose belt, obviously, and contact. Sometimes what you may hear may not actually be the timing belt squeaking or squealing. It could be the accessories that's outside of the belt, outside of the housing of the belt. It could be your air conditioner, it could be your alternator, a power steering, it could be anything. So what you want to do is make sure before you get in here that it's actually the timing belt. Depending on the mileage of your vehicle, you might want to check when you're supposed to have the timing belt replaced so that you're not doing it prematurely. But if you have 60, 80, 100,000 plus miles on your vehicle and this belt has not been replaced, you need to get that thing replaced as soon as possible. Now, a way to fix the timing belt, and if your timing belt is squealing, is to replace it. Don't try to adjust anything, just simply replace it. And how you do that is you're going to loosen up the tensioner, and once you get the tensioner loose, the belt simply comes off. And that's really, really important. I mean, it's urgently important that you make sure that the timing marks are in the correct orientation before you take off the belt. You want to make sure that these marks line up with the marks on the case here at the very top here before you take this off. This is an interference motor, which means that if you put this on wrong and you try to start the engine, the valves will contact the piston and you will have a catastrophic engine failure, and then you will have to replace your entire engine. Now also, the crankshaft will have a timing mark on it also, so you have to make sure that all these marks line up. Now we're going to take off the belt. It's just that simple. Not very hard. You want to make sure that your belt doesn't have any scores, cracks, or any type of abnormal wear. If that belt does, replace it, period. And since you've gotten in this far, just chunk this belt and get a new one. This tensioner, as you can see, is sealed. On the older model cars, like really old, you can actually service these tensioners, and simply by lubricating grease, cleaning them out, and reinstalling them. But since this is a newer engine, these are internally sealed, and once these go bad, you have to replace these. We're gonna put this back together, and there's a little groove right here, a little keyway, if you will, that lines up the tensioner. You simply put it on there. Take your tensioner bolt, take your spring, slide it in the little hook in the back, hook this end of the spring to the block. There you have it. Now the tensioner can move the way it's supposed to move. And now, as you can tell, the timing marks are in the exact same location as they were before, which is good. You want to make sure everything is oriented the way it's supposed to be before you put the belt on. The crankshaft nose is where it's supposed to be. It's got the correct orientation. It's where it's supposed to be, at top dead center.
The tensioner.
And now, before we put the belt on, you can see that's what we want. Now we can put the belt on. Now what we have to do is tighten the tensioner down. As you can see, there's slack on this side of the belt, and we need to tighten that tensioner down. to take the slack out of the belt. A little slack is okay, not too much. We have to tighten a little more, but a little slack is okay because going through the heat cycles, this belt has to be able to expand and contract. So when it's cold, it's going to be really tight. So you want it to be loose just a little bit until it heats up, and then the tensioner kicks in and makes it tighter. Now, as you can see, we have the belt all torqued down, the tensioner is torqued down, but since this is an old belt, it's going to have slack in it. Your new belt is not going to have slack in it. It'll be much tighter. And that's just one of the reasons why you have to replace your timing belt, because you do not want this much slack in your belt. Ideally, maybe a little bit of deflection there, but not this. If you have that much slack in your belt, replace it. Another thing that could cause squealing is your timing belt actually kind of coming in contact with the cover, whether in the rear or on the front. Usually there's a front cover here, and there's a top cover and a bottom cover. If this belt walks and it gets to the outside of the teeth here and starts contacting your cover, that could cause your squealing also. It's simply the belt touching the cover, and you'll know on the outside of that cover, if it's been touching for a while, you will see an exact pattern on the outside of that cover from where the belt's been touching on the inside. Now, those are some of the things that can make your timing belt squeal. Now, I'm Jon Flewellen. It's time for you to go out, get your manual, and get your hands dirty.